welcome to a Beyond Belief Spyglass. In this video, my son Denali,
Hi.
the inspiration for Kenai, is going to interview me, the author of the book, about a topic in the book. Stay tuned.
Um, in the book, you talk a little bit about cognitive dissonance and like stuff like that. So, could you elaborate on that point? Could you explain it to me?
Yeah, cognitive dissonance is a term that we use in psychology, and it's this cognitive dissonance is this feeling that you get when somebody shows you that you're wrong about something that's really important to you. It's like the stress that you feel. And when people feel cognitive dissonance, it's so stressful for them that they will actually kind of reject evidence that they're wrong and kind of cling to the belief that they have even more if they feel that distance, just to feel some relief from all of that stress. They don't want to feel wrong. No one likes to feel wrong. But if you feel cognitive dissonance, like really intense feelings of distress, you'll do anything you can to not feel that way, meaning that you'll believe stuff even if it doesn't make sense.
So you also talk a little bit about the psychologist who discovered it,
Yeah,
Leon Festinger,
that's right.
and the story sounded pretty cool.
Yeah, Leon Festinger is a really cool guy. He's a psychologist that I studied, and I really, really admire him a lot. But one of the things that he studied cults, like people that get together and they believe weird things and they do weird things. And he studied this.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That is the best job in the world.
So he studied cults, and he studied one cult that was like a UFO cult in Chicago. They called themselves the Seekers, and they believed that the world was going to end on this very specific day.
It was like December something, 1954.
Yeah, in 1954. Yeah, it was December something, you're right. Anyway, they believed it was going to happen on this specific day. So what Festinger and his friends did is they infiltrated the cult. So they got in there, which you can imagine was like probably really dramatic and fun, right? Yeah, spy time, right? So they go in there and they're spies in the cult, and they record everything that's happening all the way up to the end, the very last day where the world is going to end. And they're there, and they're all gathered together in the living room of Dorothy Martin, who's the leader. And the clock strikes midnight. And this is it. This is the time when the world is supposed to end. And what he discovered was that the cognitive dissonance that they felt was so strong that they decided that they were just going to reject the evidence that they were wrong and just keep on believing and find a way to keep on believing, even though the evidence that they were wrong happened to be that the whole world still existed. And so Festinger is the one who discovered it, and ever since then, psychologists like me have been studying it and really using that information to educate the public about how important it is to change your mind when you're wrong, and how hard it can be because of that stress that you feel.
Yeah, I wonder what Leon Festinger would have thought if the world actually did end on that day.
Probably not much. I think he might have been surprised. Yeah, but the thing was, he studied how this happened in history. Like, he studied historical events of people making predictions about the world ending, and then it didn't happen.
Wait, so this has happened multiple times?
Happened all kinds of times. There have been times all through history where people make these predictions and then they don't come true, and then afterwards the leader gets even more followers, or the movement grows. A really famous one in the modern day is a guy named Harold Camping, who was...
I think I've heard of him.
I probably told you about him. He's one of these guys who is always predicting that the world's going to end. It didn't end the first time he made the prediction, and his books sold even more. And he ended up growing his empire. He ended up being worth millions and millions of dollars, but he predicted 3 times. Every time was wrong, and I think he would always blame it on a calculating error. He didn't carry the two or something like that. And yeah, it was just his movement kept growing, and it's really because of cognitive dissonance. Yeah, well, and it's something that happens to everybody, right? So when you find out that you're wrong about something, it's really easy to feel a lot of stress and anxiety and anger and be all upset about it. But if you understand that that's a normal, natural reaction, and it's a reaction that can keep you from believing things that are true and keep you believing things that aren't, then you got to guard against it. Be smart and stay skeptical.
Stay skeptical. That's our motto.